Two.
You sure you're ready for this?
I'll do my best.
Your best. Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and the prom queen.
Welcome to the best soccer show, the best soccer show in the whole world.
Here we go! It's JD and the Rod, America's best soccer show, and we are live and in color on a Wednesday night, back in the saddle again. Jared, have you ever ridden a horse? I have never ridden a horse.
I have. Last time I rode a horse, I was probably between 8 and 11 years old, somewhere in that range.
All right. How did you enjoy that experience? Was it a
I
good
couldn't tell you,
experience?
aside from a general fear/respect of an animal that big, I can't remember much else about it.
Okay, but you didn't fall off. We know that. That's good, right?
Not on my head, at least. I couldn't tell you if it didn't. I don't recall.
We're back in the saddle here on JD and Rod. Obviously, after a week off, and I don't want to. We're not going to go a long time on the reasons why. But Jared, obviously, last week was a tough week for our country, a tough week for everybody, a tough week for us as a couple of white guys to come on and try to do anything that would have been do justice to what was happening in the world. And so we passed the baton a bit.
Yeah, we talked about you see it big this week, people talking about passing the mic and stuff like that, and people sharing platforms. And it's something that we just kind of naturally came to last week before there was a lot of people talking about it. But it just, as we were doing it and talking about it, like it just all felt thin. It felt, I don't want to say shallow, but it's something in that way, it just, or almost disingenuous or imposterish. I can't.
Certainly, it was a weird. It would have been a strange time to try to do a regular show, right? To try to do,
because it just didn't matter.
It didn't, and
it doesn't now. To be honest with you,
it doesn't now. I think that's fair. Now, we didn't really talk about whether or not we were going to skip this one. We wanted to get back. I think obviously, the discussion has changed a little bit, Jared, but the discussion needs to continue to happen. And so. And I can only speak for myself and how I've processed this, because Jared and I have not sat down and discussed our white privilege or anything, but we are all kind of going through an examination of who we are, why we're here, what we have that others don't, and why we are, more capable of I don't know, the right word here. It's not capable. It's the privilege aspect of this. And again, trying to be part of making things better, rather than just sort of bumbling through our lives, not paying attention. I wanted to make sure that that's part of this as well, right, Jared? That we are,
and just to elevate some other voices with whatever platform we do have, to try to share that, and maybe it was better to hear from someone that is talking about the thing you come here for, but from a different perspective than what we're able to give you.
Right, because I think a lot of this is just being made aware. It's not necessarily that anybody's bad or we're trying to cast aspersions on you if you're a white soccer fan. But clearly, there are things we don't know, perspectives we don't have, and we need to do a better job of trying to understand those perspectives. That's why we asked the guys from For the Culture to jump on our feed, and we're going to, for anybody who wants to listen to the bonus show later, who is on the Patreon, you're going to have access to that. We're going to talk to Grego from For the Culture tonight on the bonus show. So that'll be a good discussion. I just wanted to throw that out there, right? We can't pretend like that elephant's not in the room.
No, and I think it's going to be. I think the challenge to us is, how do you push forward the movement in any small way that you're able to, and integrate it into the product that you were going to do anyways, and be respectful and thoughtful about it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, and I don't want to be so intentional that it feels fake either. Yes. I think we just need to do our show and be conscious of the lines that you tread upon, and respectful when you have to walk a line that might be delicate for another person, but still don't be afraid to have the conversation.
Yeah, I think obviously don't be afraid to do that. And I think we have a pretty diverse fan base, and I think we've been inclusive over the time we've done the Best Soccer Show and now this program. And I hope that everybody who is Black, who's a fan of ours, feels as though they're part of this community, right? I hope that. And if If you don't, tell us why. If you feel like there's something that we're not doing, tell us. I mean, that's certainly something we want to learn. So that's last week. That's what's going on. Clearly, again, it's not as though everything is done and we're going back to quote unquote normal. We don't want to go back to normal. We want to be part of progress. And so, we're going to be conscious of those things moving forward, right?
So your boy tonight's rocking to the throwback. I believe it's the 05, I want to say, the 05 Galaxy Gold. One of the worst bastardizations that ever happened in MLS was the Galaxy's fear of embracing its look and going away from the green and gold. So tonight, I figured that we needed to have a little bit more flavor on our show.
Oh,
and so I rock in it's 05 or 03, but I believe it's the 05 Galaxy away
jersey. On this program, Jared, wearing the Footy Mob issue Davis number 10 Icarus FC jersey that you hated on for the floral pad. That's flavor. I don't know. You call this flavor. I call this.
Have you ever seen a team bold enough to rock this?
Have I ever what?
Seen a team bold enough to rock this since?
I don't know. Is that bold or is that what we're calling it? The green
gold with a sash. I'm going to ask you, what player do you think of when you see this jersey? Is there a player that comes into your mind when you see this jersey?
For me, probably Kobe. I think Kobe comes to mind first.
For me, it's Herc, because I think this was the Herc season. I think this was the Herc breakout season, if I'm not mistaken. So for me, I always equate this look with Herculez Gomez.
And Herc ended up in LA because Siggy gave him a shot right after.
Yeah, out of Vegas. I think he was playing out in Vegas or something like that, semi-pro, and I can't remember if it was a tryout or he saw him someplace. But talk about a breakout season. That dude came out of nowhere and carried that team all the way to MLS Cup.
Yeah, what a story. Hercules
I really wish I could remember if it was 03 or 05 now, but
well, your brain is going. Your hair looks good.
Oh, thank you.
Nicky Soup and Sausage got himself a haircut too. Now he's got the salt and pepper working a little bit, or maybe
he looks a little bit, he got a little was it J. Jonah Jameson kind of look going on there.
Yeah, that's the editor of the Daily. What is
Bugle.
it? No. Bugle is the Bugle.
Yeah.
It's Spider-Man paper, right? I almost got it confused with the Superman paper.
That's the Daily Planet.
I'll take your word for it.
He's not a comic book guy. He doesn't know the superheroes, Jared.
And I didn't know it was jersey night. It's rare I wear a jersey on this show. Nicky's
told
rocking that Man U too.
And I'm wearing old school Nick TV. No,
yeah.
Nick
Here's the issue though. You don't have a jersey of a team you actually support. You just have a crap load of jerseys.
I do have some national team jerseys.
I guess I always say you do support them. Yes, you do.
No, look, I am club agnostic in a lot of ways, and I know that's something I get hated on for. Sure.
Did you say club gnostic?
Club Gnostic, yes. That's actually, I'm opening that spot up as soon as this COVID-19 is over. We're going to Club Gnostic. We're going to get litty. It'll be fantastic, man.
You know what's funny, though? With all the protests and stuff going on lately, don't you feel like it's a natural extension of supporter culture to be involved? Like I watch like Portland stuff coming out of Portland.
Sure.
I feel it's so on brand for soccer supporters to be taking part in this.
I do think that's true, and the experience of being a supporter in a group lends itself to something similar. And look, I don't want to paint with a broad brush because I think there are supporters groups that are representative of many different political viewpoints, but especially in Portland, the general rule is that those Timbers Army people are going to be way left of center, right? I think that's just kind of the nature of it.
I think the nature of soccer in general. I mean, every once in a while I get a hater on my timeline telling me, stick to sports.
Hey, I got a tweet. I was going back and forth with Richard Farley, who writes for the Timbers website, covers
Dashing Dick Farley.
Yeah, that guy. And he was saying something about the voices we have in the media, and I just responded to it. It wasn't even a conversation that's worth repeating. But it was, we had some guy jump in, rocking Timbers gear, rocking the RCT ID, but also rocking the MAGA, Jared. And I was like,
I guarantee he doesn't do that at the stadium.
Well, he said, I don't know. He said something about the Timbers Army ruined the experience last year. And I was like, okay, yeah, okay. I don't want to get into this with you. I'm not really having that conversation.
I mean, you do you, but I mean, here, I just think you're swimming upstream. You're swimming upstream, man, and I guess don't expect this to be a safe haven for you. I mean, enjoy it. The product's yours. It's free. Whoever wants to listen can listen. But I'm done caring. I'm done giving two of anything about anything regarding this. I'm not going to beat you over the head with it either, though. Listen, it's a soccer show. We're going to be us. But if being us means every once in a while I gotta tell you probably deserve to get punched in the face if you wear a Nazi symbol, it's gonna happen.
Well, you should be punched in the face if you're wearing a Nazi symbol. Okay. I have a shirt that says punch more Nazis. I'm not wearing it now, but I'm proud to wear that shirt. And I'll also say, like, clearly we are Black Lives Matter here. Black Lives Matter here. That's 100%. We're not gonna be afraid to say that either. Right.
Nope.
And we're not gonna shy away from some of the language that, at least for the first couple of days of everything coming together, people were avoiding, or certainly outlets were avoiding, or certain media people were avoiding. That's not what you're going to get here. So I think that's clear. Now we are back at a good time if we're going to talk about the soccer of this, Jared, because
I wish I had more positive Euro American stuff to talk about, though. There's not much that hot. I mean, you could say John Anthony Brooks looking okay on defense, but that ain't sexy.
well, it should be sexy, right? Like,
It is, but it's dude. That's like
There's a guy
hot
who
missionary. It's like
loves-
hot missionary. It's still hot, but it's hot missionary.
okay, well, that's not. So is that kind of like? It's kind of like pizza, right? Like, even
Really good cheese pizza. Like, where's the toppings?
no. This is the duality of Dubois, by the way. I forget all the time that my man Jared Dubois hates cheese, will not eat any cheese, and yet you're diving into some pizza. You and my kid are on that level, and I don't
cheese,
get
dude.
it.
Light cheese.
Light cheese. My kid won't eat cheese, and I'm like, what? You're missing out on everything. Like, how could you possibly not eat cheese?
I don't know, but what I'm saying is that I can watch John Anthony Brooks, and I can be. By the way, is it still John Anthony Brooks? Is
No.
it John Brooks? What are we doing these days?
No, I call him Jab, but he's not Jab. He's John Brooks now. He's just John Brooks.
Okay, so he's gone the Fiscal or Roscoe Fiscal route, where we've now taken
Well,
away some kind of
There's a
number name.
difference. There's a difference.
There's no freaking.
Well, there's no freaking, thanks to our friend Mike in Philly. The difference is that John Anthony Brooks is literally first name, middle name, last name, right? Like sort of like a serial killer. And I'm not putting him on a serial killer. I'm just saying that that's the way for whatever reason. Jared, you just dropped out. Did your mic working?
Oh, I had the mic because I was taking a drink of water. My bad.
Okay. What did you say to that though? When I said
No, I was saying it's very serial killer.
Yeah.
Like anytime you get that John Wilkes Booth, who's the guy
well,
that
that's not a
killed?
serial killer. That guy killed a president. He's an assassin.
Yeah, it's assassin thing too.
It's no. Well, true. Maybe you're right. You know what it is?
Or
It
if
is
your
an
mama's
assassin.
mad at you.
Yeah. Your mom is mad at you. It's an assassin and serial killers because you had Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yep.
Who's give me another.
I was trying to remember the guy that killed John Lennon. I'm not getting it off the top of my head. Oh, Nikki knows also about killers. Here he goes.
No, I was just going to say it's the same thing. The guy who attempted to get Reagan. Yeah, he also had a middle name, and I can't remember what it was, but he was a 3-name guy too.
Well, they all have middle names.
Great contribution.
But you're right. We do say it for all of them, though. We do say it for all
we
of
do.
them.
So that's the way it worked for John Anthony Brooks. For Michael freaking Orozco Fiscal and some other players who are Latino, Orozco is going to be his dad's name, and Fiscal is going to be his mom's name, last name, right? So, like for example, My Beautiful Bride has two last names. Her first one is her father's, the second one is her mom's. So it's a little different, but we have dropped the Anthony. I don't know why. Anthony.
So, like, who's the most right now since the break and the Bundesliga's come back?
Mhm.
Who is the top rated American playing in Bundesliga right now?
I think it's Tyler Adams. I think without a doubt, it's
Over John Anthony Brooks over the last 3 weeks. I
okay.
said since the break.
You were talking there about John Anthony Brooks, and then you were like, I don't really care. He's not sexy, and I thought we were moving on.
But I'm saying he's not sexy, but he's also probably the best performing one since the break, right?
Yes, and what is he? Competent, right? That's the thing. Well, he's competent, and the problem is that,
he's more than competent.
no,
He's
no,
good.
what I'm saying is that as a center back, you're not going to jump off the screen, right? Unless you're doing a lot of last ditch defending,
Or
Unless
you're the
defending.
Brazilian type that likes to go forward and you're on set pieces and
Yeah,
taking
sure.
the set pieces.
When's the last
that's one
time
of
you
the
saw
ways-
that? You haven't seen that forever. That's not a
Yeah.
thing center backs do much of anymore, unless you're, I don't know, Sergio Ramos or something. So he's not going to jump off the screen. But you're right. He's probably the best. Then Tyler Adams, not too far behind. And Tyler's been doing a couple things. He played right back. He played D mid this past weekend.
Yeah.
They haven't gotten the results that they want.
And then you're probably getting into Weston McKennie.
Yeah, but it's been rough for him. He was out. He missed the last.
He was rough too, though.
They're terrible. He missed the last round because of a yellow card suspension. So
And then the bust has been Gio Reyna, kind of. Not that he hasn't played well. It's just like no, he just hasn't got minutes. That's the bust.
Well, that's not a
Like you were so
no.
excited because he was gonna get that start.
no.
He had the fortunate injury.
The bust is the redhead that you don't like in terms
No,
of his.
that's the bust.
Josh Sargent hasn't. I mean, again, on a bad team, on a very bad team at Werder Bremen, they're going down. Those dudes are going down. So, what are you asking of him as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, whatever he is?
I mean, he'll survive this. I mean, you're not a great player on not a great team, but you can always look back and your agent can say it was the team and he's going to get a chance someplace else. And I hope he shines when that happens. But here's the thing right now, Bundesliga had the world spotlight on them. So
Mhm.
your ability to make something, a name for yourself, stand out has never been higher in the Bundesliga than it is right now.
You know who's doing that? Who's taking full advantage of the spotlight that the Bundesliga has because they're the first ones back and is not American?
The crowd DJs?
Well, the DJs are having. I wish I had some some music to play for that, but the DJs or the crowd noise for that matter. Do they have a laugh? They should have a laugh track, right? They totally. Why don't they have a laugh track? Like a guy slips on the ball.
Was there banana peels on the field or something?
Oh my God, he fell down. Angela. And then I mean, obviously he's not American, but he is a superstar in the making. There was a report out, top 10 players in terms of value playing in Europe right now. He's number 9. Jared, do you know who I'm talking about? You have any idea where I'm going with this?
Jadon Sancho?
No. Closer to home, but not American.
Closer to home, but okay. I mean Bayern Munich. Well, Antonio, was it Davies?
Alfonso
Davies.
burning the world up. People are in love with Alfonso Davies.
I mean, with good reason, man. I mean, that's a shiny Ferrari of a left back right there.
He's coming into his own. He's apparently, according to at least one group that does these things, and I can't remember what they're called. CIES something or other. Football Observatory. That's what it is. It's like, dude, it's not the sky. You're not spotting, Beetlejuice up there. You come on, Football Observatory. Enough of that. 133.5 million euros. Alfonso Davies apparently.
Ooh, man.
You
And there's
could
only
buy-
2 teams on earth that are going to pay that amount.
You could buy a lot of cheese with that money. That's all I'm going to say.
You better start learning Spanish.
There are maybe 2 clubs in the world that could pay that. Absolutely.
I mean, Newcastle might be able to soon.
I thought they got it squashed because of the whole Saudi Arabia pirating signals thing.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Oh, you're not up on the geopolitics of the
No, all I know is that my brother was both excited and distraught by the fact, as a Newcastle fan, that A, they were going to have money, and B, it was coming from the dirty source.
How did your brother end up a Newcastle fan? How did that happen?
I'm not sure. I think.
Did you watch Goal? The Dream Begins and become.
No, I mean, we were watching the EPL back in the Shearer days and stuff like that. I think that's probably where some of it came from. And I think he always liked that working mentality, the working town mentality up there. I'm not sure how he came to it, to be honest with you, but he's still repping, and it sounds like his investment could potentially pay off. We'll see.
Well, I mean, it's been a long time. It's been a long way. I mean, they've gone down a couple of times. They come back up. They've yo-yoed. They're pretty solidly in the Premier League now, but they're not what they should be, right? That's always been the thing about Newcastle. They're a big club.
They've always been trying to reach back to those Shearer days where they were in the hunt and stuff like that, and just not so much
hasn't happened. All right, so the Americans in Europe, they're in Germany rather, doing their thing. The Premier League's coming back. DeAndre Yedlin is still there in Newcastle. I don't know if he's going to actually play at all. Christian Pulisic,
DeAndre Yedlin coming out with some fire takes coming out of the Black Lives Matter movement as well too. I've really been one of the people I've been more excited to read the opinions of. And I've not always been a big DeAndre Yedlin fan in terms of on the field, but I think Josie Altidore. Geez, does anyone hate MLS more than Josie Altidore?
He's been lighting a fire.
I love it, man. I love that there's a person out there that's super outspoken and everything like that. But speaking of outspoken,
wait, hold on. Before you move on
from
that, before you move on to that, I do want to give some love to that guy.
Oh, you mean the new Borussia Dortmund coach?
There's a rumor about that. That's not why I brought him up. There are a couple of names in line maybe for Dortmund if they let Favre go, which. We could talk about whether that's a wise thing to do at all.
I mean, they rotate so often. They do.
It's
like a 2-year max.
It's crazy. He may be in line for that job. It'd be amazing, obviously, and to have an American coach with Giovanni Reina there, obviously with Erling Haaland. who's maybe on the wrong side of our discussion here tonight. But
But
I bring
also
it up
former
because-
Jesse Marsh player.
yes, also a former Jesse Marsh player at Salzburg. You got a one point there. Jesse wore an armband. He wore a Black Lives Matter armband in Austria. So I just shout out for
All of a
him.
sudden, he was dead to Holland.
I don't want to stop returning his texts. Yeah, probably not on board with that. But you were talking about outspoken in Major League Soccer.
Well, I mean, with the I'm sure we can talk about this in a second. With the Galaxy's move to get rid of Alexander Katai, which we can go a little bit more into in a second. A lot of people talking about the very next day. But Balotelli gets in the dropping from Brescia, and people are talking about that's the guy they want to come out here. Is this the time? We've talked about it forever. Is this the time? And better yet, is the Galaxy the right place? But I mean, is this the time? Is this the time for Balotelli to come over here to the U.S.?
So the Balotelli, I mean, the Galaxy get linked with anybody who's not a big name because they're the Galaxy, right?
Yeah.
That's why. I mean, once you guys switched over from the green and gold to the Real Madrid inspired kits, it's always been big name Galaxy.
Yeah.
And of course we know.
But unfortunately, this is Los Angeles. I need more than talent. I need stars.
Oh, there's a star right here. Look,
Enjoy the party. Enjoy the party. Enjoy.
there's 4 more on the new ones.
Yeah, that's all. You only had one on that? Wow. How
That is
far long
awesome.
ago that was? It's the Galaxy because of the star power and because it's David Beckham's club and all of that. There's also a link of Javier Pastore to the Galaxy recently.
I would much rather have that than Balotelli. And here's the thing.
Pastore fits as the replacement for Alexander Katai. That's why you go after Javier Pastore if you go after him.
That's one of the reasons. Also, I mean, for Galaxy fans that have been around long enough to remember the last time Balotelli played in the what I'm going to call the Home Depot Center,
I mean,
the way he left the field that day wasn't the best.
Come on. You know what? I don't think I cared at the time. I think I was one of those people saying, it's a friendly. What the hell? Who cares?
The dude tried. That was disrespectful,
It
dude.
was
And-
disrespectful, but it's a friendly.
And he
Who
also didn't pull
cares?
it off. And that's the other thing about
He didn't pull
Balotelli.
it.
That's the other thing about Balotelli. He didn't pull it off. If he had pulled it off, it would be thing of legend. But here's the thing about Balotelli. These days, is he going to pull it off?
He's still a good player. I know. Look, the guy is a walking. He's a walking drama shop, and I think my problem with Balotelli, and I mean in the sense the way I perceive him, has always been to give him too much of the benefit of the doubt because the dude came up in one of the most difficult environments as the child of African immigrants, adopted by white Italians, growing up in that society, desperately wanting to be accepted as Italian. They didn't accept him as Italian.
Couldn't pick a worse country for that.
I mean, who else was shocked to see a bunch of people in Italy marching for Black Lives Matter?
Well,
Were
okay,
you
well,
shocked?
here's yeah, for sure. But here, so I have a pick your poison for you then regarding these two players that we just mentioned right now. If you're Dennis Teclosa and you're managing the Galaxy, are you going after Javier Pastore to fit the spot you just lost with Katai, or are you gonna swallow? I mean, like take the medicine that you learned from the first two games of the season and say Chicharito can't do it alone up top, and he needs a second striker, and go after Balotelli. Which is the better cure for the Galaxy?
I think Chicharito will eventually come good. I think Pastore is the right signing. I do. As much as I want Mario Balotelli in Major League Soccer, and I do. And
I would say it's Pastore as well, just because I don't know that Balotelli is the right player, but I think the position is more important. There should be a striker brought in, not a midfielder with that space.
Well, do you really believe that Guillermo Schelotto is going to change up and go to a two-striker system? Is anybody running a two-striker system?
Anyone with eyeballs should.
I mean, I don't disagree with that.
A couple games. Listen, I'll wait and watch the first 2 games of the MLS is Fantastic Cup and see what happens. But as of right now, based off the first couple games of the season, that dude needs a partner.
Did you hear?
Damn, dog. Inappropriate.
Did you see my tweet as to what they should have called this tournament instead of the MLS is back tournament, which is just God.
I did not, sir.
It doesn't sound like something. It sounds like something somebody writes down. This is what we're going to call it for a working title. Just call it Mickey League Soccer. I mean, it's in Disney, right? Just call it Mickey League Soccer. Keep the MLS. Put some ears on the logo. You're good to go, man. It's like right there. It's like a cruise, a Disney cruise in Orlando.
You should have called it the most major league place on earth.
That's actually very good.
Almost every idea I have is better than whatever people use.
It's an M. How do you? I think it's a soccer world after all. How do we? Can we, Jane? Come on, we got to come up with a song, right? There's got to be some sort of theme.
It's
a
it's
small
a
world
it's a
after all.
small league after all.
Small league. I like that. It's a small league after all. It's a small league after all. Okay, there it is.
It's single entity after all. There's no real players.
You think you fumbled it at the end. You were so.
I was gonna
close.
say contracts,
There's right. That's true.
but it had too many syllables.
That's true.
Instead
Alright.
of players, though.
Again, the name is already a disaster. The tournament itself, and this is where we're going to kind of get into it, Jared. It's a group stage.
I'm kind of into it a little bit, but with a few caveats.
Okay,
I like the idea of like a World Cup style tournament.
Okay, that's what this is. Sure.
What I don't like is that I'm hearing that the groups are going to be like, we're so fixated on this taking place of the season. Like, I have a feeling they're going to play the West teams against West teams, the
Yes.
East teams against, and
Yes.
so they can have points in what would have been the league. F the league. The league's over.
Well,
The
what
season's
are you
over.
playing for? What are you playing for if you don't do that?
You're playing to win this cup, and it's a Champions League position,
Okay,
correct?
if you just putting that on. Now, I will say I'm kind of with you in the weird. Why are you making these count the group stage games counts for the regular season? Now again, they want to get to a critical mass of regular season games so they can say this season still has some weight to it, right? That there's competitive integrity. That's why they're doing it, Jared. But it also makes things interesting in terms of the group stage. At a World Cup, what sometimes happens at a World Cup, right? A team loses their first two group stage games and their last one, it doesn't matter. They got
Usually to
nothing
Ghana.
sure. They got nothing left to play for. They're going to punt. Why even try in that third game? Or you've already achieved qualification for the knockout round by the end of the second game. That third game doesn't matter. Play some reserves, rest some of your starters, go into the group stage ready to go. In this situation, because the regular season points are going to be attached to those group stage matches, even that last game in the group stage means something, because it might mean you making the playoffs or not if they do play the rest of the regular season market. No, I understand that, but everybody has to presume it's going to happen. You can't act like, well, I don't think it's going to happen. COVID. Because if it does, now you're screwed because you didn't take it seriously. And coaches lose jobs. MLS has never been that big of a coach firing league, but it's starting to get more intense, and you could lose your job if you don't make the playoffs, especially in this situation.
But here's the thing, though. I think there's an opportunity here that you could have had teams playing each other that don't get to play each other that often. Like if you had just done a straight ball out of a bowl kind of format. And here, if you want to give last year's top four teams
keys go in the bowl. That's where the keys go for your parties that you guys have in.
I mean, that's a different kind of tournament format. And it brings whole new words to
what is the word
meaning to
knockout?
round robin.
Oh, what does the word knockout mean in this situation? 'Cause I don't even know. Okay.
And so, but I just think there was an opportunity
out of that last group stage game. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm not that into. Okay, so I'm gonna watch the Galaxy play the Houston Dynamo. Okay, that's cool. It'd be a lot cooler to me to see Galaxy play the DC United, or like to see some of these teams that you don't get to see match up but once a year. Like you could have done something like that, and I think it could have been more interesting matchups there. To play the teams you're going to play anyway, it's just like we're just finding a way to pigeonhole the league into this. And I was like, just embrace what this is.
I get what you're saying. Now, the complication here.
Hell, invite two teams from the lower divisions, like the champion of USL. And why not?
You get into CBA stuff there.
But here's my thing, dude. Like, I think, and Kevin, Ms. McCauley said that today that the format needs to go. They need to start looking at esports for the model, the inspiration for this, because it's correct in that I think the league of sports is changing and it's falling behind. I would much rather watch 3 tournaments leading into a big tournament at the end of the season than watching a 35 game league where the bottom of it doesn't matter for the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks of the season.
I see what you're saying.
I'd rather watch 3 so that's what the esports does more. And here's the thing: when you have individual sports tournaments like this, let's say MLS had 3 tournaments and a final. The MLS Cup is the final tournament, and your points from the original tournaments let you into that. Then you have the opportunity to open up to third-party tournament organizers. Now, third-party tournament organizers, like someone steps up, not SUM, but someone else, Nike steps up. They're going to throw a tournament. They get to kind of make some different kind of rules and things out there to make, because they're then entitled and in French,
okay.
they're dangling something out there. They need to attract an audience, bring a team in from someplace else, do something else to spice up that tournament. That's where I feel like I would be more interested in this tournament if there's something unique about it.
Okay, I think you're talking in a general sense for the way sports runs, but also with this situation in the COVID pandemic and shutting down the league. This gives
What's
you
unique about this?
No, well, it is unique. Don't get it twisted.
No, what's the hook? What's the hook? It's happening in Disneyland? I don't give a F.
Hold on a second. I'm not going to defend this tournament yet. I don't know what we've got here, but I will say that everything you're saying is interesting, except for, there are some complications that come with something like that. In this case, if you were doing it, I don't even know where you're advocating for it to happen. Clearly, nobody can play in front of fans at the moment. So are you talking about playing in markets? Some of those teams can't do that. That's why they're going to this hub tournament in Orlando. Now, Orlando, and you didn't let me get to this. You're like, oh, why don't the Galaxy play against DC United instead of playing against the Houston Dynamo? With the fact that they're going to Orlando, which we know is down to Disney World, which is down to Mickey League Soccer, and it's a single entity world after all, or whatever. It's a small league after all. Is the reason? That's the reason they're going to Orlando. They are setting these times for these kickoffs, Jared. 9 a.m., 8:30 p.m., 10:30 p.m. Because of why? Do you know why?
Heat.
Because of heat. Because it's damn hot in Orlando in the summertime. I know.
I really hope they play the East Coast teams on that early game. You're missing an opportunity. I mean, you're killing.
No, it has
if you put West Coast teams at the 8 a.m.
This is why they're potting it out in terms of conferences. There's 3 groups in each conference. That's the reason they're doing this. And by the way, it's also the reason that one of the Eastern Conference group is going to have 6 teams, because they're putting Nashville from the Western Conference into the Eastern Conference for this tournament, because they don't
because it
want
makes
Nashville.
sense.
Huh?
Oh, because it makes sense. Unlike the actual league structure.
Okay, that's a good point. You got one there. Absolutely.
But I kind of dig having a morning game, because when you have a World Cup, you get used to watching games at odd times, and that's one of the part of the experience. I dig that sometimes I have to find a way to watch a game on my lunch break, or on my day off, I'm eating breakfast as I'm watching.
Sure, no, I like it too. I do like that sometimes when the time zones are different, that you get that experience. Obviously, people who watch the Premier League are used to getting up in the morning on the weekend to watch games.
Mm-hmm.
Germany now, people are getting up early to watch games. But think about that day obviously you're not getting up at 6 to watch soccer, or 7. It's not happening, right? 6 o'clock in the morning.
There was times where I did back in the Dempsey and Fulham days. I would get up to watch Americans play, and if I knew Gio Reyna was starting in a game, I'd probably wake up for it.
I'm asking you a question. No. We're talking about the MLS turn. The MLS is back. Sorry, what are we calling it? We got to come up with a better name.
MLS is whack.
Ask those questions.
MLS is whack tournament. Yeah. Okay. Nick's got something. Let's go to Nick.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of feedback here in the chat. A lot of people. One of the ideas for Jared's tournament, a name for his tournament, would be MLS Hex or ML Hex.
ML Hex.
Yep.
Interesting.
There's one. And then this question from Jack on YouTube.
ML Triple X.
See, you're going back to no. See, you can't go in those directions, man. You got to be chill.
We got this question from.
Hold on, unless you're talking about Vin Diesel and something.
No, you play Shirts versus Skins, man. All of a sudden, that thing's sexy as hell.
Shirts versus Skins. Oh, all right. Go ahead.
If I was a third-party tournament organizer, I'd be like, hey, let's have Shirts versus Skins.
Nikki Soup and Sausage, tell me.
This comes from Jack on YouTube. Who scores more goals this MLS tournament, Lucas Cavallini or Chicharito?
Well, pick your poison from the audience.
Yeah, we can throw that one out there.
Man, I have a hard time taking any bet that has Chicharito in it. You know,
I think the Galaxy are a better team right now. At least they are on paper. Chicharito just needs a little bit of service. Lucas Cavallini is a good player. Don't get me wrong. I just don't. I think it's got to be Cheech, right? It's got to be him. Come on, believe in the man.
I have eyes, dude. And the first couple of games this season gave me nothing to be positive about with the Galaxy and Chicharito without a couple key changes, and one of them being a second striker, you know. But here's what I will say: even the losses that Vancouver had, they were fun to watch.
Yeah,
like you go back and watch that Vancouver and Kansas City game.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic game. They're playing a good brand of football.
That's
it's just
true. That's
not
true.
very good. The back, they're
We'll
getting
see.
exposed.
Well,
I
they
would
were.
take Cavallini.
They
And
played-
plus, that dude is a monster.
He's a big dude. He's a big boy. He absolutely is. By the way, if we got phone line 717-727-2378 if you want to get in here. Now, we talked about the timing, and I was going to say, Jared, for us East Coast people, and East Coast is where all the people live, right? Okay, let's just be honest about this. People live on the East Coast. It's where the majority of the population of America lives. If I'm going to watch all the soccer on a given day for Major League Soccer's MLS's back tournament, I've got to get up at, I mean, it's not crazy out early, but I got to get up at 8. I got to get up early-ish. I got to watch a game. Then I got this big gap. Then I got to stay up until when? Until past midnight to watch that last
That's West
game.
Coast games, though.
Yeah, I know it's West Coast games.
Okay,
I want
but here's the thing: 25% of the country's unemployed right now. What else you got to do? Watch a game.
You might not care about those East Coast teams playing in the early slot. I care about the West Coast team. By the way, the part of the problem is a lot of the good stories, and not all of them, but a lot of the good stories are out west. I mean, the best team in the league last year during the regular season is out west. The champion is out west. The team that started out 2-0 with Alan Polito on absolute fire is out west. So
there's a lot of good stories from out there, and the biggest burnout in Mexico League, the fastest burning star from Mexico right now is on one of those teams in the West. Chicharito, but
I don't know what that was. What was that?
I have a feeling he's collapsing in on himself.
But
I hope California's done well for him, and he's been training, and he's a good headspace.
Here's a wrinkle, by the way, for this tournament. Again, we don't know the draw that's happening tomorrow. We do know about the 3 slots. 16 straight days with games, Jared.
But
Again,
is every team playing for all 16 every one of those days, or there's just games all 16?
no, there's games all 16 days, but I think
I'm wondering what's the gap between games for teams, though.
I'm probably guessing 3 days. They got to burn through some stuff. So 4 days tops. Now,
so you're going to burn 6 teams a day because there's 3 games, 2 teams each. So you're going to do 6. Yeah, you
all
go
the
4.
games on national television, which I guess that's good. It means they're
Or their partners instead. So probably ESPN Plus and stuff like that. I don't know if they're actually be on the thing.
Perhaps. The other thing is that, and I was sitting there talking up LAFC and the best team in the regular season, Supporter Shield winners from last year, but Carlitos might not show up, man. He might
and
not.
that's what I was wondering, because the news came out in the last day or so that Christian Press won't be going to the NWSL tournament. And obviously the situation is different there because the women have the different contracts with the national team players. But I was wondering what was going to be the first on the MLS side, who was going to be the players that were going to be, and you knew it was going to be a big name player, right? It wasn't going to be some small name player not going.
It was like 1 to 2 that it was going to be Carlos Vela, because that's his history. That's what he does, right?
You dude bruises like a peach, man. Everything affects this guy. Like he can barely get through anything.
Is that what that is? I think it's more than
ask a Mexican league fan. Ask a Mexico fan.
Well, Mexico fans hate him because he didn't show up for the national team.
That's what I'm saying. If the temperature of the water isn't exactly to his liking, he ain't getting in it.
It's a little bit more complicated, a little bit more seedy, and a little bit more interesting than all of that. By the way, there was a party. Remember the Mexican national team was constantly getting caught having parties.
Yep,
and there were always strippers and who knows what other things those people were doing. Okay, yeah, the Rafa years, exactly. One of those parties involved an allegation that Carlos Vela, and this is not me judging anybody, do whatever you want to do behind closed doors, but of course in the society, in the culture of soccer, in the machismo culture of Latin America, it was alleged that Carlos Vela was doing some things with somebody who was maybe not born a woman. Okay, just saying that. Okay, I'm just putting that out there that was the story.
Who hasn't?
I mean, Eddie Murphy and a lot of other people are right there with you. Okay. And then because of the way it was portrayed, because of the way the national team handled it, he wasn't having the national team for a while. He didn't want, it was more than that. He didn't want the scrutiny, right? He didn't want to be under that microscope. He also values his personal life, maybe in a way that a lot of soccer players don't. And Jared, considering where we are, considering what we know about mental health, considering some of the other things we've talked about with Landon Donovan and the like, do you begrudge the man the right to say, you know what? I got a wife, I got a kid, I got another kid coming. I'm done here. I can play Call of Duty until you guys get back.
I've got no problem with that, but I also have no problem with the supporters then dragging him I have no
Really?
problem with that because
You
no,
didn't-
listen, he makes the decision for himself,
Okay.
and the supporters can choose whether or not they want to support that decision. That's their call.
Yeah.
Just like as a Galaxy fan, when Beckham went to AC Milan, that
Yeah.
was his choice, right?
Yeah.
But I, as a Galaxy fan, had a choice to put my middle finger up when he came back and said, "You ain't here for us."
Okay. By the way, I think you inaugurated this drop, which I never use, for Carlos Vela.
Wow, does he really live here? I thought he just flew in for games.
I think that's a Carlos Vela
I can't remember if
drop.
it was for Vela. I think it was for any player that was like better than what his team was, or something like
Maybe.
that, or like
That's a
bigger than
fast
life.
time drop. We hadn't had one, so there it is. Look, I don't begrudge the guy the right to make a choice. It's good for him. I understand what you're saying, but I also think the unique circumstances of this. If this was just, hey, go off and play in a tournament, a la the World Cup, and he begs off and he has a contract or whatever, maybe. But remember, this is happening during a pandemic. It's happening during a pandemic when, thanks to some relaxation of the restrictions and people hanging out on Memorial Day, Florida just had an incredible bump in their number of cases. So I know Don Garber on his conference call today basically said, "Oh, they have less cases than other states. It's fine." But you can't wish.
They
that.
also have less deaths because they're not reporting pneumonia as one of the things that
I don't want to.
their pneumonia cases are like up 500% over normal in the same time period, and they're not. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I don't want to get into. Okay, regardless, we're not done with this. I think the important thing to say, regardless of what the numbers say or don't say,
Like
is
I
that
said,
we're
man,
not
Vela,
done with this.
you do you, homie. You do you. Okay, if it's not right for you and your family to go, cool.
Well,
but
what's funny is if Chicharito Hernandez said, "I'm not going," Jared would be throwing a party.
oh yeah, I'd be like, oh my god, we might have a chance of winning this thing. But here's the thing: if you don't go and LAFC doesn't perform well, then the supporters and even his teammates have the right to say, you weren't here for us and we struggled as a result. We didn't hit bonuses. We didn't hit.
Yeah.
If you're not going to the CCL, that's
Yeah.
for a salary minimum, MLS salary minimum player not to get CCL bumps and bonuses and stuff like that. That's a big deal to them.
Sure, you're right on that front. Okay, again, I think this is a weird situation to
Some
be.
of these players don't have a choice not to play.
No.
They have bills to pay that they
You're
can't
right.
pay. They can't pay off of endorsement deals.
That's absolutely true. Like you're right in the fact that he's letting his teammates down, and I guess again letting the fans
Potentially.
down.
I'm saying potentially, but once again, his right, and I respect that. But it comes with consequences.
Yeah, okay. I think that's probably a fair thing to say that if he doesn't go, and we don't know exactly what the exemptions are going to be, right? And I know the high risk players. So it may be that Carlos Vela doesn't want to go, and he's got a wife at home that's pregnant, which could be his reason to stay. And then you've got a player like Jordan Morris who's diabetic, and these are just two examples, the high profile ones. There are other players who may have other things. Certainly, you've got Chris Adoyatsum in DC who recovered from cancer. Like, dude, you really want to go down and put yourself in jeopardy when you recover from cancer?
May not have an option.
Well, but he may. I mean, he could. But then again, he probably wants to go, just like Jordan Morris probably wants to go. And yet, because of the circumstances we're in, they're going to put them in this environment, or they're going to make them have to choose. Or if they don't go because it's really not worth it for them medically.
I've started to think of Jordan Morris in my head. I picture him like a half gallon of milk with legs. Like if milk could walk, that's Jordan Morris.
I could see that. I could see that. He's got the look of like, he's got the, I don't know.
Don't get me wrong. He's a handsome man.
Okay, there's that, I guess. Sure. If you want to go in that direction. I was just going to say that you're putting him on a half gallon of milk with legs. I'm putting more on like I don't know, like one of those little action figures, not the GI Joe ones that we had as kids, or even the big GI Joes, but like the squat ones that almost look more like wrestlers. Like he's kind of just
the ones you could like they're rubber, you can mold and stuff.
Yeah, I think those are the ones I'm talking about. Yeah,
okay, a little bit
a little bit like that, a little bit like
that. Being said, man, Jordan Morris over the last year, best American player for the national team. I'll say it.
If a sound effect played when Jordan Morris ran down the field, what sound effect would play? You think what would be
when he runs down the field? I hear like I want to say. What you don't hear his footsteps, what you hear, and I used to say the same thing. If for those of you guys are NBA fans from the late 90s, early 2000s, it's the same sound that I feel that if you remember Mad Dog, Mark Madsen played for the Lakers.
Sure, yeah.
I always said he ran like someone said there was an ice cream truck at the other end of the court.
Okay.
That's how I see when I like someone's yelling ice cream and like the bells are ringing and he's trying to get to the ice cream truck first.
That's Mark Madsen, but that's not Jordan Morris, is
I think
it?
it's Jordan Morris too because he
Jordan Morris?
runs in not a way that's elegant, but
No,
he
he's
runs fast and he runs hard.
He's not elegant, but he runs so hard that it's more like, yeah, it's I don't know.
Now,
It's
I make no judgment by the fact that ice cream has a lot of sugar and the man's diabetic. I'm not trying to make anything jokes at that level.
wow.
But
Wow, I don't think anybody was going there. I think you just
Okay.
made that connection yourself, and everybody else
I
was
go
like,
to dark
"Whoa."
places, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, you didn't come up with a sound effect. I mean, you could go with just a basic train noise, like a chugga 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 kind of thing. You
No,
could go
I'm
with
saying what in my head what played was the ice cream truck music.
Oh, okay.
That's where I got to that.
Playing. I was thinking more along the lines of it, like the pace of his run, the physicality of his run.
No. I know what it is. You remember in Scooby Doo when they would start running and their legs would go before they would catch? It was like I don't know how to make the sound, but you know the sound I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. I do
It
know.
was a
that. I know
frantic,
exactly.
like almost bellish kind of music.
Yeah, whenever Shaggy and Scooby got scared by something,
Yes, and
the
they ran in
running
place for
place.
2 seconds before they caught
Exactly.
traction.
exactly. Yeah, you're right. It is that.
That's the sound.
I'm gonna have to go find that sound effect now. I have to
That
do
could be the Jordan Morris drop.
to be the Jordan Morris. I don't have a Jordan Morris job. Does he?
You do
Does,
now.
is he droppable at this point? Does the
We're
man
going to talk about it a lot with the national team. And speaking of, if all this stuff's happening on the club level, how long before we get national team games?
does
do you
this-
think?
a little Jordan Morris there, right? He's maturing. He's
Yeah, I think
getting
we made
there.
that for some of the up and coming youngsters. But yes,
Okay. So what were you saying there? You
So-
were
what's the right time frame before we start talking about national team games again?
well. Are we gonna have national team games in 2020? Because I don't think so.
I don't know, man. Like, I feel somewhat bad for the players of this generation right now because you're losing there's so much experience, especially for teams like ours, which are composed of such primarily young players.
They need that.
There's
They need
an
those games.
amazing amount of experience at the international level that they're missing.
Even if you think that Nations League thing is dumb, is
Which I do.
terrible, is crap in a box, it is games, right? It's
Yeah.
still games, and maybe those would have been friendlies before. Maybe you could have played Germany or the Netherlands or
By
whoever.
the way, does Greg Berhalter take a pay cut this year?
That's a good question. I don't know.
The dude's literally might not coach another game this year. If he's getting full pay, there's a problem.
That's okay. That's a fair point. We'll hold on to that one for a second. I don't know if there's going to be national team games. You make a good point about the games we're missing.
If not, he should be at every freaking Bundesliga game that's happening right now, taking in as many minutes abroad as possible.
Can he do that? I don't think he's.
I don't know, are you even allowed to watch as a
personnel.
coach visitor? Are you allowed
Yeah.
to go in the stadium?
Is he essential personnel? I don't think so. Maybe if he could maybe he could be the DJ. Oh, that's an essential broadcast location.
Yeah.
Maybe he could be the crowd noise DJ. Hit that laugh track.
Is he allowed to be at the Orlando games?
That's a good question too. I don't know. Hazmat suits maybe. I was going to say I don't know that we've talked about what CONCACAF has sort of let slip. Victor Magtaliani has let slip about the possible qualification format for 2020.
Yeah, they talked about going away from the Hex, correct?
They're talking about going away from the Hex because basically you haven't had a chance to do those preliminary rounds so that teams could qualify for the Hex. Because remember, they switched it up with the Nations League taking up dates. They said, okay, well, the top 6 in the rankings make the Hex automatically. That meant that the United States and Mexico and Costa Rica weren't going to have to play any of those preliminary round games.
Yeah.
But now, because of COVID, because of the pandemic, because of the shutdown, because nobody else got a chance to earn their points to get in, we're mostly talking about Canada here. Let's be honest about it. They're thinking about a 12-team qualifying format that would put you into 3 groups of 4, and then you would play round robin against the teams in your group. Group stage winners qualify automatically for the World Cup.
Yep.
The 3 second place teams would then play in a playoff against the winner of another qualifying tournament outside the top 12. And then those teams, the winner of that
I would almost rather see those 3 teams. Why not just take the top 2 out of every one of those?
because then you have 6 teams.
Oh yeah, excuse me. I apologize. Sorry. So you're saying, well, then you have your 3. Are you
have-
trying to get the 4th one that used to go with Oceania? That's
You
what
have
I'm sorry. That's the
You
one.
have
I'm
a
sorry.
half spot,
Gotcha.
the international playoff spot. Okay, so Again, group stage winners straight to the World Cup. Half spot in contention among a couple different nations, and then that team would play whatever other confederation were matched up against. Now, here's the interesting part of this, Jared. For the U.S. men's national team, can you recall the United States struggling against Bermuda, the United States struggling against El Salvador, the United States struggling against Nicaragua, the United States struggling against
I remember Timmy Chandler. Yeah.
That would basically be the qualification process for the United States to get to the World Cup in 2022. Now, you would think, okay, you're avoiding Mexico, you're avoiding Costa Rica because they're going to be the top three teams. They're going to be in the first pot. But that doesn't mean it's easy because you have very little margin.
Would USA even get the third spot?
What do you mean?
If I'm Honduras, that's who went instead of us last time. If I'm Honduras, I'm like, why am I not getting that spot? Why am I not a top seed in these three groups? Why is the US?
It's based on rankings. Again, you can talk about the rankings.
Kind of messed up though, right?
I'm not saying it's not messed up. I'm not saying it is messed up. I'm just saying I'm glad my team will have a chance to be in pot one. But again, if you are up against Bermuda and you've had trouble in the past, it took, Eddie Johnson coming out of nowhere off the bench on a cricket pitch to score a goal and get through. And if we've had those issues, I think Freddie Adu saved us one time. It's been crazy. Is that something that we want? I think this is an interesting thing to consider. Could be harder than we think to get through and be top.
I would prefer that to the Hex, though.
You would.
I would prefer that to the Hex
because there's so much leeway. They screwed it up so wildly last time.
I think Costa Rica, USA, and Mexico are so close now, with Mexico definitely being on top. But they're close enough now that you can't get guaranteed points against any of those teams, home or away.
All right. Okay.
I think they're toss-ups. I would rather bet on the USA's ability to get points in El Salvador, Honduras.
I would say that Mexico is above the United States and Costa Rica. And I think Costa Rica's regressed, and obviously the United States, until they prove otherwise, is crap. So maybe you're right. But then if Mexico goes and dominates the Hex, they get the first spot. Really, you're just playing off against Costa Rica, Honduras, Panama.
The bigger issue with this for US is that one misstep costs you more than it does in the Hex.
That's the problem.
It only takes one bad result to really put you in a bad position.
Yeah, and then you're talking about goal differential against the bottom team in the group in order to get through, and that's definitely not what you don't want to be playing for that. The United States has never done well when they have to score goals, right? That's never been a good thing for them. So, yeah, I don't know. It's
I remember Trinidad and Tobago.
It's a wild situation to consider for the national team. And
it's interesting to me, though. I mean, like I was just telling you earlier, I'm kind of down to do some stuff different. I think there's an opportunity here that if you're still thinking the way you were going into this, I think you might be backwards a bit. There's an opportunity to find something better and more engaging and honestly more entertaining that you might be able to play with for this and come out the other end. Better.
You're talking about the qualifying format for CONCACAF. That's what you're saying?
I'm talking about MLS tournament. I'm talking about everything that's going on with the sport right now.
Should it be?
I'm talking about fan noise. Anything that's going on right now.
CONCACAF is back tournament. MLS is promising innovative technologies here. I don't know what that means.
CONCACAF kickback tournament is what that would be. No, but I just saying that there is so many things that you can play with right now. It's a sandbox. Soccer in this world right now is a sandbox, and if you're not playing a little bit, I'm not sure you're doing the right thing.
Okay, I don't know what you were doing in your sandbox when you were a kid. We'll go that direction. Look, I think you're right, but also you are kind of up against the realities of the logistics of the whole thing, right? You have limited dates. You have limited time to squeeze in a season if you're Major League Soccer. You have you can't play in certain places. You are literally not allowed to play in certain stadiums in certain spots. Yeah. So what do you do? The discussion about whether Orlando is the right place is definitely one to have. And we've, over the course of the last month or so with this plan kind of floating out there, we've talked about it. It's a sweatbox. It's the worst place on the planet in the middle of the day in summer. I mean, it's 95 degrees with 90% humidity. You basically want to just lay down and turn into a puddle. So they're moving the time slots around, which is super weird. But again, there's no other sport, so they kind of still win on that level. You also have the potential for infection, which means some players aren't going to come. But I think Don Garber was on the record today saying they're not going to test any of the staff in these hotels. And they're not going to test any of the ancillary people that are involved in making this thing go. They're just going to test the players.
We'll just wing it. We'll see what happens. What's the worst that could happen?
They have the testing capacity for all of this. I don't even know. Like this whole thing is
No
so
one does,
wild,
though, man. That's the crazy thing. No one does. So you would think that in an environment where no one really knows the answer, you would skew towards the most conservative answers, but it doesn't seem like that's the case here. It almost feels like, not almost, it does feel like, hey, how do we save the buck? Like, how do we keep this afloat? Where it does, hey, and if you're a player, I get it. Like I said, I don't begrudge Vela, even if Alejandro Bedoya, who voiced reservations, if it's doesn't feel right to them, don't go.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes with penalties as well, but I get it, man. If these guys don't want to do this, it's an interesting ask that the league. Is Don Garber going to go down there and hang out in these hotels the whole time?
Yeah.
Is he going to be out around all these people, or is he going to kick it in New York
Man.
and talk about this?
We're gonna see Don Garber walking around in a mask. Is that what we're gonna see? Like,
Are these guys even getting charter flights to Orlando?
He's got to. That's it. I think they're all chartering. Yes,
Okay.
they're all. Come on, you're not. I think that was part of the CBA thing that they're all chartering. But
I hope their staffs are as well.
and the one thing that happened since we talked and got us to this point is the fact that basically the owners tried to screw the players. The players were like, "What the hell? We thought we were all on the same team here, trying to get this thing done. We had a CBA that we agreed to with everybody happy, and now you're trying to force us to take a force majeure clause that is ridiculous. That you're asking for crazy amounts in terms of salary reduction. I mean, clearly the players are pissed right now because of the way that thing went down. We got to get to a call, Jared, and this is on CONCACAF qualifying. And I go ahead and give the man the proper introduction that he deserves.
Michael freaking Oscar Fiscal.
Mike in Philly, what's up, man?
Yo, guys. So you're talking CONCACAF qualifying and how it could potentially get banned for the U.S. But, I mean, honestly, if we can't come out of the group against the El Salvadors and Bermudas, we don't deserve to be in the freaking World Cup.
Mike, we're obviously saying that. We're obviously saying they don't deserve to go if they can't win that group. But at the same time, like, we missed a World Cup. Like, I want to get back to a World Cup. Like, I'm thinking about just getting there. Screw whether or not we need to earn it or not. I just want to go.
Right, but I mean, think about this though. Like, we should be qualifying regardless of what the format is, and to be being concerned that the cards aren't stacked exactly in our favor. It's just, I don't know. I guess it's just a statement on where we're at, soccer nation right now. But
You say we sound pathetic, Jared.
It's like mind-numbing to think about that they're worried about Bermuda. Like, come on. I know the history, but like, let's be realistic here.
So, Mike, you're saying that you're not in a place with the national team where you're not looking for every possible shortcut, toe hold, push it forward that you can possibly get to make sure this catastrophe of a team makes it to World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm not thinking things are necessarily as dire as a lot of people seem to think they are, right? I think of our failure to qualify and not getting the job done in Trinidad as more of an anomaly than what the expectation should be, right?
But, Mike, it wasn't just Trinidad.
It's a failure, right? They're not going to, even if you're expected to win 9 out of 10 times, or still that one time you could potentially lose. But, I mean, all things considered, they should still be heavily favored.
Yeah, but Mike, here's the thing. They didn't not go to the World Cup because they lost in Trinidad. They didn't go to the World Cup because they failed at a number of different stops over the course of the Hex, including at a coaching level, at a playing level. It's a complete failure, which is why a lot of us can't help but see it as more than an aberration that they didn't get it. And I understand why you think that way. And I totally get seeing the glass half full because there's some good things going on.
That's the Bruce Arena school of thought, by the way. That's how Bruce looks at it. Like, oh, we just had a bad break or two, and that's why we didn't go to the World Cup. And that just happens. That's soccer.
I think his ego doesn't allow him to take more of it than that. But
I don't have a Bruce Arena, but maybe I can do him as Tony Danza, right? That's
There's got to be a line between, you can still hold them accountable for failing, right? To me, what really stands out in that qualifying campaign was losing to Costa Rica at Red Bull Arena. That was the worst of them, in my my opinion.
Shouldn't happen.
But
Should not have
it
happened.
was a confluence of a bunch of different things. It's end-to-end failures. But I mean, to lower the bar this much for us, to put us in a position where we're being almost trying to position ourselves as an underdog against CONCACAF minnows. I mean,
No,
that's not the reality of the situation.
That's not what it is. That's not what it is. Mike, I appreciate the call, man. The quality's a little off there from Mike. I get his point, Jared. Like, we should be better than this, but the fact is we're not. Like, we're just not better than this.
There's no greater statement on the U.S. fan base's current mindset towards the national team that we are almost looking for to see what is the easiest way for us to qualify now.
Yeah.
Now, granted, part of that's just because you want your team to succeed, but underneath that, it's buried under a veil of uncertainty that we have with our ability as a team to actually qualify, fueled by everything I just told you about from the last Hex cycle.
Yeah.
We aren't confident enough. I felt the same way that Mike did last time. Alexi Lawless has said it for years. What's our goal at the World Cup? Our goal should not just be to get out of the first round. Like, he's said it for years, always raising the bar of what the expectations are for US. And I was on board until 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not as on board as I was before because I'm not sure where the bar should be now.
Yeah.
And I think it says a lot about the fan culture right now that we are looking for the lowest bar to clear rather than pushing for the highest bar we could potentially.
No, that's a good point. I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's kind of bumming me out, to be honest with you. I'm just going to say that flat out. I do want to mention, and let me try this. The MLS is back tournament. Nope, it's not working. Let me try this one more time. I got to get the board up. The MLS is back tournament. There it is. That's Hans Zimmer.
It's the 3 a.m. booty call of tournaments.
Actually, let me try
we couldn't do anything else, so here's where we're at now.
Okay. The MLS is back tournament. Is that better? I got to build into it. I asked for our friends on Twitter. You can follow us at JD and the Rod to give us a GIF reaction to MLS being back, Jared. I know this is
it GIF? I thought it was GIF.
I'm not doing this with you.
Okay.
I think it's GIF.
All right.
If it's GIF, it doesn't matter. Okay.
All right.
Whatever. I asked people to give us a graphic reaction to the return of Major League Soccer. And I got a couple. Again, this is a podcast for most people listening to it, but I think this is good. They got a wink from a guy and then boom, pregnant. So a picture of a woman pregnant.
Story of my life.
Boom, pregnant. We got Goofy slipping on a soccer ball or trying to head a soccer ball and falling on his back, on his butt. So that's good.
So it's a Jesse Zardes GIF.
It might be. It's kind of in that vein. By the way, the first one was from Mark Mickelson 11. The second one is from Corazon DM Loon on Twitter, Minnesota United fan. We got a flip. I think this is Obafemi Martins doing a backflip. Shaq tasting something spicy. That's a good. Anyway, shout out to all these people. Mark Fishkin with a Jerry Seinfeld shrug of the shoulders.
Always good for a good Fishkin take. And by the way, are we going to try to fit in one more caller, or are we good to go?
We are. Let's go ahead and get Frank in the OC on the phone line. Frank, let me. I didn't click the button. You got to click the button to get them on the air. Frank, you're on the air. What's up, man?
Hey guys, what's up, man?
Have you
listen,
Frank? Have you fixed it with your lady? Are you guys good now? I want to make sure you're good.
Oh, I fixed it for sure, man. Anyways.
There it is. I can't. I'm gonna give you a J rating. I'm just gonna give you a J rating.
You live and you learn.
You
Frank,
live,
what you got, baby?
you learn, you sacrifice, Jared. That's what you gotta do. You gotta sacrifice for your loved ones. You gotta do things you don't really want to do. I'm talking about foot rubs for anybody who doesn't understand.
I did one last night.
All right, you got to do them. Frank, go ahead.
Hey, so I've been hearing a lot about like what's the easiest way, to get to the World Cup and like, or as long as we make the World Cup, who cares? But honestly, that's kind of a sad way of like looking at it. At least from my perspective. I mean, that's like the good-looking person still asking the ugly person out just to go out with someone. I mean,
personalities are important, right? It's all about the personality. That's what we're talking about here.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like, here's the thing: like, we have good individual players, right? But like, when we get them like onto the same field, and I think you guys can see this too. Like, it just never clicks. And I don't know if like the individual players we have now would click in CONCACAF qualifying.
So Frank, let me ask you. Sorry, Frank. Let me ask you a question though. While you're on that topic about they get on the field and play together, I'm gonna ask you one simple question, and the fact that you probably can't answer this is gonna say everything. So, Frank, what's the U.S.'s style of play?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Ask bigger questions, Jared. What's the meaning of life? You know, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. Ask bigger questions, Jared. Come on.
But there's a reason why the guys get on the field. They look like they never played together before because none of them know what the expectation is.
Okay, look, that's part of it. Frank, I got to let you go because I got one more call I want to get in. But that's part of it. The other part of it, they don't get time to play together. They haven't played together.
Especially now.
Okay? And, you know, Tyler Adams is hurt. Weston McKennie is hurt.
No, that's somewhat untrue, though. Because we don't have a national style play developed from the lower levels, these guys have been playing with each other for years at the youth national team levels. You know this.
Okay. I think Tab had a way of playing, whether it trickled up or whether we know what that means for the senior
team.
It's
almost like we should have hired the coach that coached this generation players we're asking you to get a lot out of.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Wow, that's weird, though.
You want to write a love letter to Tab Ramos, you can do that. That's fine with me. Eric from Seattle is on the line. Eric, what's up, man? Final caller.
Not much. Long-time listener, going back to the old days. Thought Jared's point about one striker setups and Frank's call, just building off of that. My question is, it's like, we had that coverage a while back about Stewart being very top-down, shall we say, on how Berhalter's supposed to play, but it's not working. It's like my problem with one striker setups that I've noticed over watching multiple teams is the one striker gets bottled up by both center backs and the defensive midfielder. So it's like, are they going to evolve, or are we just going to continue to play terrible soccer and because that's what's popular?
But Eric, here's the problem, Eric. Eric, here's the problem. You keep saying one striker setups, and I agree with you. But the reason you're saying that is because the three striker setup you're supposed to be playing isn't working. You're having to do so much work on the defensive side. You can't have the ball. The three striker setup you're supposed to have in that 4-3-3 looks terrible because you have one guy left up there because everyone else is too busy doing the jobs of everyone around them because they don't know how to play together.
I would argue that the two guys that are sitting underneath that striker line are not up to the task yet. I mean, we're talking about the team that hasn't played a game in how long? Okay, just let me say that. Okay. But I think that's part of it, right? At least the way that Berhalter was trying to play with those two. One of them was Weston McKennie, who's never going to give you the seeing eye pass that's going to open things up. Just not going to be that guy. Like, he's going to win you a ton of balls in the air. He's going to bust his butt. He's going to foul a bunch of people.
So in America's best 11 right now, you don't have Weston McKennie in it?
No, it's not that. I mean, I think you have to look at the way the setup is working. You're right about that. I don't know that two strikers is necessarily the right move.
I don't know that it is either because I don't think we have two good strikers.
That's the problem. Yeah, sure. Josh Sargent's not ready.
I'm not sure we have one good striker.
We have 3/4 of a good striker, I think, if he's healthy. In Josie,
if you put 3/4 players together, we got 1/3 of a player.
You're right. No, that's a thing. You know, clearly.
And that thing is, I don't even see one coming up. Like, granted, there's guys like Yanez who are versions of strikers, but they're not out now at number 9s.
If you want to go to a two-striker setup, would you be on board, Jared? It's not really a pick your poison. It's more just a straight question. Would you be on board with a Josie Jordan Morris combination? I know Jordan Morris has become more of a wing player, but he started out as a striker as a pro. Yeah. I don't think he's not a prototype second striker. He's not.
I'd rather have an Altidore Yanez type. I think that fast and that big. I like the fast and big together. That's a classic combination.
Yeah, Yanez isn't ready. He's not ready.
I'm just saying I was just making the point about who's coming up. That's one of the people that I identified.
Yeah, okay. Eric, appreciate the call, man. Say hi to the dog. We're gonna get going here. That's the only guy I can think of that he's currently in the setup that is a mature player that doesn't need another year of seasoning like Ulysses Yanez.
Josie Altidore's job is not in danger right now.
No, it's not.
The only thing, the biggest thing the biggest competition he has for his spot is a gurney.
Well, that's taking shots at Josie being a little.
I mean, honestly, it's
fragile.
unfortunate. The guy has been unfortunately hurt with injuries. It's the biggest thing he has going against him right now. But his spot isn't in contention otherwise.
If you had to name the second best American striker, who would it be?
Oh God, don't make me say his name. Oh no, actually, you know what? I'll say this, and I hate saying this too. Chris Wondolowski is the second best striker in America.
No, he's not. He's not.
I'm not saying he's the best athlete. I'm not saying he's the best runner. If you need a goal,
he's not the second best striker in the pool, though. Gyasi's Artist is still a better option than Chris Wondolowski.
I don't know if I need a goal, I would rather Chris Wondolowski if I needed a goal.
Man, I don't know, but okay.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. He's not even starting for his team. But I'm just being dramatic. If the second best striker. Man,
like I know we're not making him. I know we got Robbie Robinson in Miami, and he's not.
Every answer I have is a guy that plays a different position that I'd be making into a striker.
Well, that's that's part of the problem. That's
God,
true.
I almost wish Bobby would have made that deal to come to MLS just so I could see him. But dang it, why didn't your team make that happen, Nick?
Bobby Wood fell apart. I mean, jeez, fell apart like I'm trying to come up with a really good analogy. I mean, his career just dropped off Brendan Fraser kind of levels, like he went from like being in school ties to what are you doing?
God, I don't even have an answer for this, man, in terms of who's the next best striker is after that, man. It's probably Gyasi Zardes, and I don't want to say it.
It is. It probably is. That's sad. I get you on that. Let's wrap this up. I don't know. We got some housekeeping to do. Again, we're on Patreon, patreon.com/JDingTheRod. We're on Twitter at the same name. We're on Instagram at JDing the Rod Show. We have what else, Jared?
A show coming up if you have a member of the Patreon, we're gonna be sticking around. With George from For the Culture, and
Greg,
that's only Greg, our Patreon.
Greg from For the Culture.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
Greg, yeah, that guy. We also got the t-shirts that's still up at On the Volley Apparel if you want to go find that. What else, Mr. Dubois?
I think that's 3 names I've messed up today, man. A week off did me dirty.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. The Galaxy shirt is.
My apologies to Kim McCauley. My apologies to who else did I mess up? I messed up 3 different people tonight.
You had a couple of bad ones in there.
So we got some good news tonight, though, gents.
What's that?
We have over 100 subscribers on YouTube now. So thank you to everybody who went out and subscribed. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Subscribe to us on all the platforms, even if you don't use that particular platform. It just helps us out. Ratings and reviews, and I didn't check to see if we had any new ones. We've been off a little bit, but clearly we still appreciate that. Go hook us up with those. And by the way, if you enjoyed For the Culture last week, make sure you're subscribing to those guys too, and like getting them on their feed because they need to see those numbers. It'll help them out so they can keep their thing going. We're gonna go talk to Greg. We're gonna go make a bonus show. We're gonna say goodbye, Mr. Dubois. You're done, right? You're fine.
I'm
here?
done before I mess up something else.
Doing key parties, Nikki Soup and Sausage. Thank you very much for your work as always. That's it, was. We'll talk to you guys with another JD in the Rod next week. See you then. Bye.
Danger zone! Get to the chopper! Get to the chopper! Duh and or hello. The horror show. Duh and or hello. And be cut dead in a sweater vest. You got to coordinate. Who asked those questions? Oh, baby! Ain't nobody going to the bathroom for about 45 minutes. What? Did we just become best friends? Yep. Michael freaking Oscar Fiscal. Jay Rodius.
Okay, we're good on that. I'm going to go launch a Zoom. Okay.